What's that?
Those clocks always dragging behind you.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it's
Go like that.
it's funny. It's always the gauge.
Yeah, I always look at that clock, but it's a little behind. All right, we ready?
Brody's going to lead us in the pledge.
Oh, yeah.
Put it on there.
Good.
From here.
All right. When you're ready, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'll call you up when we're ready. Ready to go. All right, let's go ahead and begin. We welcome everybody to the Thursday, January 7th regular session of the Harriman City Planning Commission meeting. I just want to make sure that folks are aware we do have commissioners that are online as well as here in person. We have Brody and Heather. Let me just do a quick roll call for those that are, Brody and Heather are here locally. Do a quick roll call, make sure we got folks online. I want to make sure, Lauren, you're here? Can you hear us all right? Yes. All right, Andrea. Ready to go. Adam. And Jackson, you available as well? Giddy up. All right. Okay, we appreciate everybody being here tonight. We'll go ahead and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Brody from the Planning Commission.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brody. All right. With that, we did do the roll call already, so I just want to make sure, is there any conflicts of interest from anyone on the Planning Commission for any of the major, well, the two items we have on the agenda tonight? All right. With that, I guess we'll go ahead and move on with item 2.4, the approval of the minutes for the November 19th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Do we have a motion for approval?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
All right, Adam, we'll go ahead and give that one to Adam as a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
And Brody, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We'll do that as well, just in case we don't hear from him. Great, so we'll go ahead and approve those minutes. We do, like I mentioned, have two items on the agenda tonight. One of them is open for a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and read those requirements at this time for our public hearing. Public comment and policy procedure. The purpose of public comment is to allow citizens to address items on the agenda. Citizens requesting to address the commission will be asked to complete a written comment form and present that to Wendy Thorpe, our deputy recorder. In general, I will allow an individual 3 minutes to address the commission. A spokesperson recognized as representing a group in attendance may be allowed up to 5 minutes, and this policy also applies to all public hearings. So, and for those of you that are online, there are an opportunity as well to make public comment that way as well. So we'll go ahead and go to item 3.1, which is a request for a conditional use amendment for the Anthem Sky Townhomes. So Mike, are you going to give us some information here?
Thank you. So this is an amendment of a project that was approved by the Planning Commission in December of 2016. Prior to that, the Planning Commission had also approved essentially a development agreement called Miller Crossing for this area. That was in March of 2015. So subsequently, there was a subdivision and a site plan approval. Approximately half the project has been constructed. The applicant was in the process of platting the remaining phases when we became aware of this need to amend, or the proposed need to amend the conditional use permit. So this is the area that we're talking about. Again, this is essentially a project in two halves. The eastern half has been developed. You can see it's just west of Main Street and north of Midas Creek. This was a site plan that was shown to the Planning Commission. It was interesting in looking at the records, I wasn't on staff at the time, but the trail connection to the future park was something that the Planning Commission had requested and was eventually shown on the site plans. This was the plan that was approved by the Planning Commission. There was also a reference in the materials and in the condition of approval that there be a trail that extends to the south into the open space. And we'll look at that a little bit more. So as this project is being developed and as things become more real, the applicant, the developer, worked with the city in these trail connections. The city built the park adjacent to the property, and it was decided at that time that it would be better to relocate the trail. Unfortunately, in our efforts of working together, we didn't bring that to the commission. And in your packet, you'll see that they've actually started, this was when I took the photograph, this was poured, the concrete had been poured. And I had estimated that it's a 5-foot wide walk. It may be wider than that, I'm not sure. I don't believe the materials that were submitted to us had a dimensional, but it's definitely not as wide as the commission had specified as part of your condition of approval. The commission had said a 10-foot wide asphalt trail, not concrete. The city had requested concrete that would be more durable, a surface that could be, that you can control the slopes and things. So that was a request from the city. And then to the west, again, the condition said something about having a trail to the open space to the south. But at that time, we didn't have the Midas Creek Trail along Midas Creek actually constructed. I don't know how much of that had been planned. In order to access that trail, which is on the south side of Midas Creek, the city had constructed this bridge. And so this developer actually had connected into the bridge. And so you can see, I think they're achieving kind of the overall objective of connecting to this trail. But it just didn't comply, with the specific conditions of the Planning Commission. So again, this is just looking from that bridge along that ravine. You can see the trail on the left-hand side of the screen, again on the south side. And then looking in the other direction, you can see again, there's just really nothing on the north side of the open space that we have really planned and designed for access. So again, it does seem like the bridge and the connection to the bridge seems to meet the intent of the Planning Commission. So they're asking for a modification of, I think it's condition number 10, relative to the plan development or the site plan. You have these standard options. You can approve the request, modify the request, table it if for some reason you want staff to research this issue further. You can also deny the request, the amendment request. Now, in considering this request, it was suggested by our community development director that maybe it would be in the best interest of the city and the general public to maybe secure some type of an access easement over these trail connections. We didn't require that initially. We want to make sure that these trails are maintained and that the public can access them to connect through the public or through these through this development to these public spaces. So that was proposal by staff. This is not the applicant's request. This was something that we had considered as an option for the commission to consider. We did share the staff report with this recommendation with the applicant. I haven't heard either way whether they feel like this is appropriate or if they agree to it, but this is what we had put in your packet. So again, we are recommending approval of the request, modifying that condition to secure a public easement along these trail connections.
So this item 10 that you've got here is actually an amendment to what was
Yes.
approved, was the item 10 that was approved, right?
It
Because
would
the item
replace-
10 that was approved was to provide that 10-foot
Yeah.
walk that's in the packet, right?
Right.
Okay.
In your packet, you have the original Planning Commission letter
Yeah,
as one of the attachments. It's attachment A.
yeah. Okay. So is anything more than Mike? You good? Is the applicant here then? Do we know if
I
they're
believe
available?
online. I was
Brandon?
told they were going to
Was
participate.
Brandon
but-
going to be online? Nope, looks like Brandon. Go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead, we'll give you a few moments to add any additional information that you see fit. Okay. All right, is there any questions then for the applicant from the commission? I think maybe one question, did I see somewhere in the packet that it was, the development that's, or maybe the way the lots were laid out, that the 10-foot is not able to be built? Is that true?
Well,
Or is
there was some concern about,
proximity to
because
the?
of the setbacks that
Yeah.
are between these buildings, a 10-foot wide trail, I believe, would fit, but it obviously begins to eat into the landscaping that is in between
Okay.
these two buildings.
Okay,
When I asked our Parks Department, whether or not a 5-foot trail connection is suitable, they indicated, maybe more normally would be preferable.
Yeah.
But given maybe the narrowness of the access, it's something that the city negotiated, as this was being designed and planned, so.
okay.
How do you feel like usage-wise? Is it there? I guess we could look at the map of how many people would be accessing it. But have they already poured the concrete? I think they have, right?
Yeah, it had just been, like I said, during the time that I was putting together the staff report, I went out that day and took that photograph, so I'll go back to it.
Okay.
Okay,
I guess it is a mountable curb, and maybe some
Yeah.
people might abuse it if they thought it was wide enough to drive on.
Yeah.
I guess that it might be another
I
potential
mean, I could see them
concern.
driving their side-by-sides and ATVs on it.
yeah, if you're not careful.
Do they, as far as like street trees and stuff with this kind of curb and gutter, how does that work with our ordinances?
Yeah, so as you can see, again, this was all approved, a few years ago. It's an integrated sidewalk. And I should have probably taken some pictures of the other phase if you haven't been to it is nicely landscaped. They've done a good job with the eastern half of this project. It is currently on private property, and, the language that I had suggested would be that, although it's a public easement, that they would maintain it, that it would be privately maintained by the HOA, by the community.
Any other discussion from the commission? Any concerns? Are we ready to move forward with anything here? Or do we have enough information? Ed? Yeah. Well, I wonder also, Adam, if, this adjacent, or this sidewalk right behind this mountable curb, what is the width of that? Is it a 5-foot sidewalk as well? Is that what was approved? Do we know?
Looks like it.
Okay, because normally when you have a curb, on your sidewalk right next to it, you have a little bit wider provide a little bit more of a buffer, but we're tying into a 5-foot sidewalk as well, is what it
I
sounds like.
believe that this is compliant with the civil plans that were approved at the time.
And that was 5 feet? Do we know? I'm just curious. As long as we're tying it, maybe we'll turn it over to engineering. I can talk to Lala, sorry. Come on up. You can't sit there and
I've been
drink
itching
your,
to talk. No.
drink your Monster and not
So
get-
the city built the bridge and a stub of sidewalk into the development.
Okay.
And so the city built that at 5 feet wide, or 6 feet. I think it's narrower, though. And then the developer built the sidewalk along the street, which is 5 feet wide.
Okay.
And then the developer built the sidewalk going to the park, the trail piece that we're talking about here. And then that ties to a sidewalk in the park that's also 5 feet wide. So if we go wider, it's kind of like we're jumping widths around. It kind of ties to 5 feet on each end.
So
that the city
everything
built.
in this area is 5 feet?
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing.
That
Okay.
helps.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, same here.
all right. That's good clarification. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion then if we're ready, if we're to that point.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use amendment for Anthem Sky Townhomes regarding the location and design of the required trails in the plan unit development, with the additional item 10 to record a survey that shows public easement to ensure perpetual public access to the trails.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion by Brody. I'll give that to Heather. I think she spoke up just in time, so. All right, with that, we'll ask for a vote. Andrea? Lauren? Jackson? Adam? Heather?
Yes.
And Brody?
Yes.
All right, and that item passes. We'll go ahead and move on to item 4.1, and this is up for a public hearing. This is a request for a rezone property from Forest Recreation 2.5 to Agricultural 1 acre minimum for the proposed Valhalla subdivision. Mike, are you going to take this as well, I'm assuming? So go ahead.
Thank you. And as the commission knows, this is a project you're familiar with. We had previously considered a request for a rezone to A.5. That negative recommendation was made by the Planning Commission and forwarded to the City Council. The City Council then discussed it and in a public meeting had voted to remand the request back to the Planning Commission with a strong recommendation that the applicant amend the request to A1. Following that meeting, the applicant did send me an email requesting that, formally amending his application. We notified this hearing, also mailed letters to property owners within 500 feet of the property. And of course, as you mentioned, this is a public hearing tonight before the Planning Commission for the A1 rezone request on 5 acres. The future land use map is essentially what we often call the general plan map. Don't pay any attention to the red circle, that's for another part of this map. But the subject property with the red star is where this property is located. And you can look at this a little bit closer. As we've talked about in the past, the general plan has this property, has 2 different designations. It has low density and open space. Primarily, it is open space. Again, that's just the general plan. That's not the zoning map. The zoning map is what creates the rules for use and future development on the property. So this is the zoning map. As you can see, the property is in this FR 2.5 zone and also has an overlay that protects the hillside, the steep slopes. And that overlay is unaffected by this zoning request. That overlay will remain in place. We'll zoom in a little closer. You can see this A.1 rezone in the FR 2.5 zone that's there now. As the commission knows, this is a request in connection with a preliminary subdivision plan that the commission had also reviewed that same night and had tabled pending the outcome of the zoning amendment. This is the original plan that the commission saw. This is one half of the plan. It extended up into a cul-de-sac. So there's a single cul-de-sac design. This is 2 halves, the north and south side of this project. And again, this was tabled by the Planning Commission because it was dependent on the rezone being decided by the City Council. During this process and working with the community, the developer has been talking about changing that plan to essentially a 2 cul-de-sac design, which you can see here. So it's no longer a single road that terminates in a cul-de-sac. We actually have 2 different cul-de-sacs in this project. This subdivision application is yet to be formally amended by the applicant. We need to review the civil engineering plans that go along with this. We've seen this layout, but we haven't received all of the civil engineering plans that go along with this to do an engineering review and make a recommendation to the Planning Commission. So again, the Planning Commission may choose to make a recommendation to approve the request as proposed. You can modify it, but you can only modify it to a lower density zone. You can also add zoning conditions as an option. Again, you can table the request for future consideration, or you can recommend denial of the request. And your recommendations, of course, go to the City Council as it is a legislative action. Any questions for staff at this time? Okay,
Thank you, Michael. Let's see, is the applicant here? Is James here? Come on up and feel free to add any additional information that you'd like to from what Michael has already presented to us.
No, thank you for your time. And yeah, Michael pretty much hit everything on
Sorry,
there, as you guys.
state your name as well, just for the record.
James Horsley.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Mike kind of hit everything on there. As you guys know, we came in with the half-acre zoning. Kind of the whole reason behind that was just to, we were going to donate some of the property because part of the open space and everything like that and stuff. Last time you guys kind of gave some suggestions about the acre lots, but we weren't really able to talk about it at the end. But we're happy with the acre lots there. As you know, with the City Council, that's what they kind of came back and said that they would be happy with that and asked us to amend our submittal, and so we did. So it's where we're at. Any questions?
Very good. All right, well, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Horsley. All right, at this time, it is up for a public hearing. So I will go ahead and open the public hearing at this time. I know we have received 2 comments so far online, so we'll go ahead and start with those, and then we can turn it over to the audience here if they're already. So Wendy, could you read those for us, please?
Okay, the first comment is from Rebecca Brinkerhoff. She states, there is a hillside overlay zone in this property, but also greater than 30% slope that lies outside of that zone. In the previous meeting with the Planning Commission, a slope heat map was presented. I did not see this heat map in the packet for tonight. I believe any decision made today, careful examination of this heat map and the intended lot proposals is crucial. Lot number 10 will wholly be built on a 20 to 30% slope and butt up to the 30% and greater slope. Excavating and cutting deeply into the mountain, putting in a 40-foot retaining wall does not reflect the natural setting and respect unique site constraints. In previous meetings, Mr. Horsley stated he is just helping Val and his kids get these lots to build on. Lot number 11 is reserved for Val's son-in-law, but lot number 10 is for Mr. Horsley himself, and lot number 9 is being sold through the builder Gordon Myler. If the purpose is to give Val a place for his family to build a home, they already are able to add the other home under current zoning, along with allowing the future home to be built under the regulations in an FR zone would have. In giving up the precious zoning, we are not preserving and protecting this hillside. There is no benefit to the city. There is no park. There is no trail access. If this rezone is allowed, it could also be used as a precedent for other similar rezone requests, continuing building into our hillside. Ultimately, this rezone request does not conform with and goes against our general plan for our city ordinances and city code. I respectfully ask for you to not support this rezone request. We received one other comment from Shiloh Smith. This states, these lots are holding the whole subdivision back. Can we, as in the owners of the other lots, get our homes going. I'm wasting money on rent each day that passes by. Please and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. We'll go ahead and open up if there's anyone here present tonight that would like to address the commission. Please do so. And when you do, just state your name for the record. And just remind 2 minutes per individual and 5 minutes if you're representing a group. And if information we've already heard, we'll respectfully wait. Don't need to duplicate anything said. So please, anything new, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Cody Crowl. I live on Solemn Way. That's the street just north of this development. I'm speaking on behalf of several people. I don't need much time though. So we spoke a lot at the last planning commission meeting when this came about, and I feel like you guys heard our voice and understood our concerns and heard our concerns, which we really appreciate. And so as far as the rezoning goes, Mr. Malloy talked about the new development that is coming through. We love it. We think it's a fantastic plan. We just really hope that that is the plan that goes through. We feel like it meets all of our safety concerns that we had. And obviously there needs to be some tweaking, make sure that the drainage and other things, which we're going to let the engineers and all those guys sort out. So we do support that plan. And as far as the rezone goes, I don't feel like we typically have very strong feelings against it. We just would like, if there is going to be a rezone with the forestry recreation, we would like to make sure it's part of something greater. Whether this development may be that something greater, a park, whatever. We just want to make sure the rezone is part of something greater. And it is part of making sure that this development gets done appropriately. So other than that, yeah, thanks for hearing our voice and thank you for hearing our concerns. We really felt heard as a neighborhood in that last meeting, and it was really nice to see the process work and how it works correctly and making sure things are done safely and appropriately. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that comment.
Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year to all. I'm Kelly Cabot. I live at 14371 South Napa Ridge Cove. I am the pie shape that back end borders to that rectangle. I'm here basically just to be a voice for some voices that have not been heard. I think I've relocated from Florida. I'm a retired law enforcement. He's my husband, retired today, actually, from law enforcement from Florida. And we chose Harriman for a reason. We chose Harriman because y'all had really, really great reasons to move here. One being green space and to beautify and to benefit everyone. But the voice I want to convey here today is for the poor deer and the falcons and those mountain cats and all the animals that come and visit my yard and my fountain, and they have nowhere else to go. And I know the hillside, it's a darn mountain. I know I come from Florida, which is completely flat, so that's why, to me, it's a mountain, but I think to 1,000 people, that's a mountain. And the other aspect I wanted to convey is, because I am retired law enforcement, and so is he, we know what these slopes do to cars and traffic. And I believe, besides the animals, people are more important, and we're setting it up for a tragedy, for a child or a person, or a car that just rolls down. We moved from here with two-wheel drives. Trust me, they roll down. And our slope is less than this slope. And there are gradients there that are up to 30%. And like Rebecca Brinkenhoff said, there's the heat map that shows those gradients. And unless that is protected, we are setting ourselves up for a tragedy. And that's my concern. And that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Nothing online, I'm sure, so nothing more. All right. Thank you for your comments. We will go ahead and close the public hearing at this time then. Any discussion then, further discussion from the Planning Commission on this?
Michael, do you have the heat map that we saw last time?
Yes, it was part of the subdivision packet, which is why it wasn't shown as part of this. It was
Okay.
something, it was an image that was generated by the applicant for the subdivision.
Yeah, so I mean,
If you want to
that,
see it, we can put it up on your screen. But
Well, I think maybe a part of that, right, the whole, help us out, you know, kind of an education process for everybody here. 30% they're not allowed to touch. Is that correct? That they
well,
can't
they
develop
can
on that?
yeah, there
regrade
are
it, or?
restrictions against that.
There's
30%.
restrictions
Yeah.
about what they can do with those slopes that are greater than 30%. And I think a lot, what we're seeing here in the hatching on this figure that's out here, that's probably in that, that's
It's
roughly,
approximate, right.
where those limits were with
Right.
that 30%, right? Okay. So I want to make sure that that was, yeah, those slopes cannot be, you know, I guess it'd be worked on, but, yeah.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah,
I'm kind of
exactly.
torn, because it's like, this is the zone.
Yep. Go ahead.
So I was just looking at the overlay zone and where that cul-de-sac would be based on their design, which isn't getting approved here, just though.
Yeah, this is just rezoning.
But if that
Exactly.
cul-de-sac ended where it's currently shown on their plan, the lot to the overlay zone is 200 feet. So you've got
Okay.
200 feet there to grade and put a house in and have a backyard to catch that grade or put a wall in, so, which is a lot more than what we've had in a lot of areas. So that just gives you an idea how much room they have to work with.
Thank you. And Ann brought up a good point, just clarification for procedural. Tonight, we are looking at, you know, just the rezoning discussion at this time, and when and if a plat comes back, then those safety concerns and all that will also be addressed, and we'll make sure that if it does get to that point, that we are mindful of those concerns as well. So, anything else? Jackson, I notice you're off mute. Did you want to say something? Okay. Very good.
I think for me, I'm opposed to changing this to a 8.1. I think that our residents have it right, and I'm totally with them on this, that at what point are we getting rid of our hillsides, which is one of the reasons that so many of us moved here. And I really don't think that we should be eliminating and changing this zone to put houses right against the mountain. I think that there's so many red flags with that. But for me, it's mostly, it's not contributing to our community in any way having this zone change.
Yeah, and I echo some of those same concerns, just, that's where I kind of would like the planning department to kind of educate us on where we feel is like our line, like where, you know, where do we want to say this is where we want to have open space and not keep developing up the hill. So just those are my thoughts.
And then also just something I kind of want to clarify. So the city council, when they were discussing this and talking about the A1 zone, the reason why they were saying, okay, yeah, we kind of like that idea, because the planning commission had kind of brought that up just in conversation. So they're not saying that they're totally okay with it. They just had heard that we had had the conversation about it. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and I did inform the council that that was not part of your motion. It was part of your discussion. I even re-listened to the meeting. It was something you talked about before the motion was made. And I tried to represent that it wasn't something that all of the commission members felt. It was just, I think there were one or two commissioners who said that, and nobody objected to it, at least at that point in time.
Yeah, I just
So,
wanted to make
yeah,
sure that
yeah.
it was clear that they weren't, totally on board with that.
And I guess this, go ahead, Jackson. Go ahead, Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's limitations because of the slopes, things like that will control what can be done. And I guess if we look at what was proposed, this is what, a 5-acre piece?
Right.
Is that right? And so they're looking at, right now, they're looking at 4 lots, approximately, on this acre, or 5-acre parcel as well. So for me, it's right.
Yeah, I would have to look as well. It's not a zone that we have had a lot of development within. In fact, the one neighborhood that I know of, it really developed more like as third acres because it was part of a planned development, the Cove. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this from my standpoint, I'm seeing you've got an 8.25 right next to it, right? I think for me, it's a fairly good transition from, 8.25 to A1 for this one lot, and then you're into the FR 2.5. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that hillside overlay zone, right, that's in there. They still can't,
Is that the hashed
yeah, that's the
parse
hatched area.
part of it?
Yeah, it's in that parcel.
Yep.
Exactly. And they've already got one, right, there's already a structure there.
Yeah, and it
On one of
takes
the
up
lots.
half of, probably,
Yeah.
at least half of this whole lot.
So, yeah, that's a good point. Yep. Yeah. Go ahead, Adam. It looks like there's no further comments. All right. Was that a second by Jackson? Is that what I heard? Okay, thank you. So we have a motion by Adam and a second by Jackson. We'll go ahead and ask for a vote. Andrea? Lauren? Jackson? Adam? Heather?
No.
Brody?
No.
All right, with a 4-2 vote, that is moving forward with the recommendation for approval to the city council. Just so everybody's aware that this is still going to the city council. They will make the final decision on this rezone. We just made a recommendation accordingly. You saw the vote. So there's still an opportunity to go before the city council and meet with them, because they'll have the final say, being a legislative item. So, all right. Thank you so much for your time, and everybody. We'll go ahead and move to item 5. Is there any other comments from the commission that they'd like to make on the record tonight? Or city staff, maybe. Go ahead, Mike.
I wanted to let you know that Wendy is being more mindful about this than I was. She brought up the attention that we need to do our open public meetings training. And Chase, I believe, is going to be providing that. Is that right, Wendy? So we're going to schedule that in February. It'll be during one of your work sessions, I think February 4th. And at least the conversation today was that we would invite the city council to join the
Do it
meeting,
together.
probably online. So we will be having that soon.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Well, Happy New Year to everybody. Let's make 2021 a much better year than 2020. Didn't start off so hot yesterday, but hopefully I appreciate the civility and everything that took place tonight with differing opinions. If only the rest of the country could follow suit. So With that, we have our future meetings. City Council meeting on January 13th, a Planning Commission meeting on January 21st, and then another City Council meeting on January 27th. With that, I will love to hear from motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Brody, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, everybody.